was it? 8 a.m.?
We arrived at 8 a.m.
So it's about 12 hours these players have been here just today. Yesterday was about a 14-hour shift.
It really was. We've worked hard this weekend, but not as hard as these incredible players that have been going for 2 days, 12 rounds of Swiss, followed by top 32 cut. We have Lucas Marcelin from France on the Blur pool, was the first seed going up against Nick Pham on Amethyst Steel, the 13th seed. This is bound to be a banger, Spessy.
It is. I mean, Nick Pham just sounds like the name of a good Disney Lorcana player, doesn't it?
It does. This speaks champion to me. Will he prove us right and go all of the way? Just to let you know at home, guys, we will only be showing one of the semi-final matches, but after we finish this one, we will proceed, of course, to our grand final best of 5 format. Have you missed best of 5, Spessy?
Best of 5 is so exciting. It's not something you get to see so often.
Sure, no.
But one thing I love about best of 5 is the play-draw disparity is significantly reduced because each player has an opportunity to break serve that one extra time. And speaking of breaking serve, that's what Frank Carsten likes to call it. Nick will be on the play, and you have to think that Lucas, with that first seed playing Amethyst Sapphire, is the strong favourite to take down the tournament from here. Securing that first seed in Swiss is an incredibly impressive achievement, and the reward for doing that is the ability to start on the play in game number 1.
100%, and we had a little chat, me and Rebecca, with Ed Chu earlier on, DLC Fort Worth champion, North American champion, second place at Worlds, and we were talking about why he chose to bring Blurp, and he said, you want to see the Amethyst Steel deck, so on the play, you've got to think Lucas is favourite, but we are off to the races. A big old whale, a big boy monster going into the Inkwell, and we see the Rafiki Mystical Fighter starting us off.
It's the White Rose into the ink for Nick. And in comes the Palace Guard, of course, a illusion character with that vanish keyword. But a Tipo here for Lucas would make the numbers work out quite well for them. Might be a sale, or is it possible we see no ramp at all? The Tipo is there. Mom, I think I'm still growing. Still my favourite flavour text for now.
When are we casting Spessy as Tipo in the live animation Emperor's New Groove? That's what I want to hear. But yes, you always want to see that turn 2 ramp if you are a Sapphire deck. So great that Lucas starting off strong. And then going over to Nick, did he just ink and pass?
That is correct, Baker. No card played on turn 2. No quest either, with the Rafiki and Tipo threatening that 4 strength. So it's a slow start for Nick. On the other side, Lucas 1 jump ahead now thanks to that Tipo, and Dumbo is in the ink, and Dumbo is on the board.
This Dumbo has had a huge impact since its introduction. But not too long ago with Fabled, this incredible 4-cost character, 3/3 quest for 1, can exert and pay 1 ink to draw a card, and your other evasive characters get that same ability. We see Nick taking turn 3 and finally establishing another character, the Genie Satisfied Dragon, which is going to be very useful in this matchup for Dumbos. Maybe you can boost its strength and take out Genies. This is at least what you want to see on turn 3.
Yeah, and what a luxury for Lucas, being able to spend their entire turn paying 5 ink to draw 3 cards. But that's not all. 1 jump ahead. Well, actually now 2 jumps ahead, thanks to that Tipo on turn 2, and then singing 1 jump ahead. Isn't that fascinating, Baker, to see this card included? We know that players like 4 Tipos, they like 4 sails. Well, Lucas says, I want a 9th card, and I imagine there is just 1 copy of that 1 jump ahead in the deck list. We'll try and get that confirmed to you.
Yeah, you may well be right. Again, the Sapphire decks instantly feel 50% worse if you do not hit your turn 2 ramp. So it's really important to try and raise those odds, not to mention if we can do what Lucas just did there. And Turbo Ramp, you said it to yourself, Spessy, 2 jumps ahead, singing with this Tipo, and suddenly we're at 6 ink and going into a 7 ink turn. We're going to double challenge and get rid of that Genie. Interesting quest there from Nick.
Yeah, very, very interesting decision. As you see Hades come through, that's going to deal with Genie, although it does go into the Inkwell. So Nick has a little bit more ink to work with. Palace Guard still on the board, not doing much. How about another Genie, says Nick.
Yeah, Genie's not bad. Drawing a card, evasive 2/4, can be kind of slow, but we're able to extend a little more with the Diablo. Again, this is an Amethyst Steel deck. One of its best removal options is Strength of a Raging Fire, for which you want to build a nice wide board. The Blurple deck has a few rather large bodies. This Hades, again, even Genie with that 4 willpower. So you want to go as wide as you can.
Certainly do. That's really the role of Nick in this matchup, you would imagine. It's tried to go underneath this Amethyst Sapphire deck. We know that the Sapphire Amethyst deck has so much control. Can Nick just quest aggressively? If they can't, Nick might just try and take on a different role in this matchup and go toe for toe with the Sapphire Amethyst players. We see Hypnotic Strength and Genie. It's going to be the Palace Guard vanishing Baker thanks to the Jafar's Hypnotic Strength.
Yes, don't forget that vanish keyword if targeted by an action. Immediately banished, and of course allowing a card draw on top of that.
Yeah, this Palace Guard, it looked good, didn't it, up against Rafiki, but the Tipo just stopped it from questing, and I do believe that Palace Guard, it might have gained 1 lore, but I'm not even sure if it did gain 1 at all. Lucas is in the lead at 3 lore. Nick is trailing at 1, but it is Nick's turn to play a card.
And you said, like, Nick may have to change his tactics to try and go toe-to-toe with Lucas. And that's kind of the, like, one of the positives about Amethyst Steel. It is quite an aggressive deck. They have high questers, but it does have the tools to be able to combat the board, as opposed to something like Amber Steel, which very rarely is making positive challenges.
Yep, Genie challenging Hades. I think I know what's coming, Baker.
It's the Bell Accomplished Mystic. 5-cost Inkable 4/4 quest for 2, and on play you can move not 1 but 2 but 3 damage counters from one character to another. So healing up our Genie and putting those on that Infernal, as Kim would say, schemer.
Yes. 5 damage counters on the Hades is nice, but that 6 willpower means it is safe and sound, although I can see that 1-cost action in hand for Nick, and I have a feeling they're just trying to decide what to ink, and then we will be seeing that Fire the Cannons clean up Hades. There it is.
That's very good, yeah. The choice of what you ink literally can decide the game every single turn. I've spoke to people who said, yeah, I literally lost on turn 1 when I chose to ink this instead of this. So these are very pivotal decisions that these players are having to make. We're going to pass back over to Lucas, who's going to ready, set, draw, as is the tradition in Disney Lorcana. How many cards is he holding right now? I think it's 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4. What Nick's doing a good job of, as we see a second Genie for Lucas, is Nick really has to ensure that Lucas never gets a board state where they have 10 cost worth of characters.
Absolutely.
To get that Sing Together 10 second star to the right. There might not be any way of coming back for Nick in the long run if that happens.
This is fantastic. Another Hypnotic Strength and a draw a card, and this time targeting our own Genie, meaning we're making a wonderful challenge into the opposing one, and we're living to tell the tale.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the body language of both players. Both players looking quite confident, but Nick leaning forward in his chair a little bit. Lucas, though, just looking so comfortable right now.
Yeah, you've got to think he feels like he's in the driving seat again. This is absolutely one of the matches you want to see as the Blurple player. You have the tools, but like you said, can Nick go under just by winning the game before Lucas can get to the point where he's just dominating with this very top-end deck that he's running? There's the Strength of a Raging Fire, sung by Bell.
Yeah, big moment. Getting rid of 1 Genie. Now Dumbo developed down on the board. Nick only with that 1 evasive character, only with 1 card in hand, although that Diablo might be able to start refilling the hand soon enough. Lucas now with the Genie on the board and an abundance of ink to work with.
Do we potentially have an Elsa to remove this Dumbo? Because this can be a very annoying character, can not only benefit from the breaking records ability itself, but any other evasives. But here we see a hard summon for 8 of Elsa, Spirit of Winter, who is going to freeze 2 characters. They're going to be exerted and not ready at the start of the next turn. And this is what we were saying, Joe, when you get to the top end of Blurple, you just have so many high impact characters that are just going to stall Nick out and hopefully race ahead.
Genie also going to quest. There is now 12 cost worth of characters on Lucas's side of the board, which does mean that they might have the opportunity to sing second star to the right in the next turn. It's interesting, Baker, you were talking about Elsa. The 5th Spirit would have been great in that position, but Spirit of the Winter just slowing the game down for Nick. Meanwhile, questing for 3 and has a huge stat line as well.
Yeah, this Elsa, a reprint from the first chapter, a card I'm a big fan of. We got some really nice first chapter reprints. The Hades, John Silver suddenly seeing a lot of play in Emerald Sapphire. Nick going to exert 3 ink to play the Giant Cobra. Chooses not to discard a card to gain 2 lore. Instead going to pay another ink for the Palace Guard. Again, going wide. We know that if we draw strength, we want to be able to have an immediate impact.
Lucas now Time to play a card. Nick with no cards left in hand, by the way, although that Diablo on the board, wouldn't be too surprised to see Nick just challenge into this Elsa in the next turn if they need something good. Here comes the Ursula, the new 5-cost super rare. Going to exert the Giant Cobra and play into the unknown for free. Dumbo into the Inkwell. The spicy text from Lucas, this Ursula, the one jump ahead, is absolutely fascinating to see.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this Ursula. You can kind of think of it as just fifth Elsa's fifth spirit. It's so important to have that ability to exert a opposing character to start to making some very good challenges, and Ursula will do that job for you. And as we saw just there, sings into the unknown for free. That is value as far as I'm concerned. We're going to see the Iago giant spectral parrot coming down onto the board. Another illusion with that vanish keyword, if targeted by an action, will be removed. Strength for a Raging Fire, if you're singing that on Iago, I think Lucas is perfectly happy with that. It means you're not getting rid of Dumbos, you're not getting rid of Genies, etc. Are there any Fire the Cannons in Nick's deck to potentially punish this Iago? We're going to see him play a Genie.
Yeah, it does have 2 cards in hand thanks to that Diablo. It's going to be Captain Hook for 1 ink. Are we going to see the Cobra take out Elsa? I thought it might be time to sing Strength when I saw the Cobra being exerted. That is not the case here.
Just making a trade into the Elsa, which, hey, pretty good. You know, like, you want that Elsa off the board. Nick only at 4 lore, though, to Lucas's 7. It's still all to play for. Another Iago coming down, and I see these Genies just going on a double quest, and the Iago's going to join them.
Yeah, Nick holding 1 card in hand. I'm trying to work out what it might be that they only played the Captain Hook and nothing else in this previous turn. We'll find out soon enough. In comes Yzma.
I think it's an Elsa. But yeah, this Yzma coming down. The conniving chemist. She's become a bit of a staple in these Amethyst Steel decks as another way to draw extra resources. Of course, they've always played docks. We want to play out our hand and then refuel. But Yzma offering another opportunity to do that. We're going to double into the Ursula Voice Stealer with Captain Hook and that Palace Guard, who actually lives to tell the tale.
Yeah, Palace Guard putting in some work. Now, if this Yzma can stick around, it might just provide Nick with enough card draw to claw their way back into this one. The big problem that they've got right now is those big, giant spectral parrots, evasives, 4-6 stat line. This Genie is absolutely terrified of Iago right now. I think Genie's worried they're going to steal the lamp.
Yeah, 100%. Iago is definitely doing the bidding of his master Jafar, and Genie is quaking in his boots, or at least should be. Again, this Iago, much better statted than you would expect for a character of this cost. Only 4 cost, having a 4-6 stat line with evasive. But of course, that vanish keyword is a little bit of a negative, so we're trying to balance it out. I really love the design of these illusions, Joe.
Yeah, definitely. And from a deck building perspective, Lucas seems to have at least a decent amount of Iagos, trying to pull up the deck list for you very, very soon. But I like the fact that if you're playing an Iago, why not play 2? Your opponent might have 1 illusion counter card in hand, but it's pretty unlikely that they have 2. It is open deck list, of course, as well. So Lucas has all the information on exactly how many actions that can counter Iago are available, so you could argue that Iago is a card which actually becomes even more powerful in an open decklist format that we're currently in during this top cut.
Yeah, 100%. If you didn't know the opponent's decklist, you might be more inclined to go for something like a Genie or a Dumbo, another forecast. But if you know that there aren't a lot of punishes to this Iago, and hey, again, if they're playing strength on our Iago, I don't think we mind that too much. They're not targeting more important characters. So I think you're absolutely right, Joe. Open deck list absolutely makes Iago a more prime pick. We're going to go back into Lucas's turn. He draws a card. I believe we're playing right off the top of the deck at this point.
We are, and it's a really open game. I mean, look, Lucas is definitely in a very good position, but I think if you're Nick, there's a chance he might have taken this position at the start of the game. If Nick can come up with a big turn here, Lucas just passing 1 card in hand. They are ahead in terms of lore, but Nick suddenly, if they can get a nice turn, remove some Iagos, maybe sing Strength to deal with Genie, there might just be an opportunity for Nick to get back in this one. It would be such a huge win. Nick breaking serve is what they're trying to achieve. but Lucas still looking rather comfortable.
Yeah, this Yzma, I expect to be exerting this turn to add some gas to Nick's hand. He's going to come down with the Elsa 5th Spirit, which is not bad at all. It means we can at least answer this Genie, but let's start off by using the fear, the power, by drawing drawing up to 3 cards.
Yeah, and 3 cards are drawn. I love the ordering here. The Elsa has Rush, but you don't have to challenge as soon as the card is played. So Nick plays the Elsa, draws the cards, and then confirms that they want to take the double challenge. Really, really high-level play to just draw the cards first, get all the information that you have available, and then make the decision to take the double challenge.
I agree, mate. Again, if Nick would have drawn like a cannons or something there where he wouldn't have had to have challenged with the Genie and could have got another 2 lore. So it just goes to show how important it is to sequence your cards correctly. Nick's going to throw down the Calhoun, that 2-cost uninkable 3/2, who gains 2 lore when banishing an opposing character. Unfortunately, these Iagos do have evasive, so Calhoun with no targets as it stands. This board is pretty good from Nick. He's gone pretty wide here.
Yeah, and I was just wondering with the lore, we were slightly off there on stream. It is 15 lore to 5. There was that quest for 4 in the previous turn. So Lucas is 5 lore away from victory. Nick at 5. The Elsa is a nice option here for Lucas. Into the unknown as well, dealing with that Yzma. But Nick now with so much ink to work with. Lucas no cards in hand and only 2 Iagos and an Elsa. It's not the most impressive board I've ever seen, Baker.
No, it's not that aggressive. At least we have answers to these evasive characters. Iago going to easily answer the Genie, and then the other one taking out that Elsa. So yeah, we have lost some of our quest pressure, but
look at that.
Yeah, look at that. Just absolutely tidying up the board. And even though Lucas is on a 2-turn clock, there's nothing currently standing in his way. This Calhoun can touch nothing on Lucas's side of the board.
Yeah, a lot of players here might have been tempted to just quest with the Iagos, try and close out the game. But Lucas just decides, nope, I'm going to take some challenges, I'm going to get some board presence, and I can start questing soon. But look at that. Yzma found the Doc. Doc finds 2 new cards. Is there a way of dealing with one of these Iagos with a action?
And Joe, just imagine, you just said some players may have been tempted to quest with the Iago, but Lucas tidying up the board, and if he hadn't done that, this Dumbo absolutely could have punished that turn because we got rid of a Genie and an Elsa. So Dumbo coming down, not able to immediately trigger. There's the Hades.
Off the top, the Hades deals with the Dumbo. That one might just seal the deal as Lucas is now 2 lore away from victory with 4 characters on the board. Nick needs a really good turn here or it will be over in game 1.
Yep, Lucas with Story on board, and Nick sees that Story star coming down. What can he do to intercept it? Just a little judge clarification going on here. Should there be, less damage on the Elsa because it went into the Palace Guard. So, just cleaning that up.
It's going to be Elsa for Nick. That's a good start, exerting the Hades. Double Calhoun, challenging Hades. That's a really good start there for Nick. Gaining 2 lore for that second Calhoun challenge. But there's still 3 lore on the board for Lucas. They only need a little, and there's no response, I believe, from Nick that can stop Lucas questing to 20 next turn.
No, I think the writing is on the wall when you're going to see Nick start to pack them up. And game 1 goes to Lucas on the play, playing Blurple, following the script that you would expect as the Blurple player. Again, playing Blurple is one of the most powerful decks in the game. We know that at the moment. It gives you a lot of agency. Cards like Hades, Elsa, Genies, Elsa Spirit of Winter, and Amethyst Steel should be one of your better matchups. So Lucas doing really well here, but can Nick come back and take us to a game 3? Especially, we love a game 3.
We certainly do, and I've got to say, Lucas's resource management in this game was just outstanding. They finished the game, I think, with they would have gotten to 21 lore, but no cards left in hand. They used every single resource available to them throughout this. On their 5 ink turn, their 4th turn, they played Finders Keepers. We saw them singing 1 jump ahead with Tipo to go 2 jumps ahead. It was just absolutely outstanding. We even saw the 5-cost Ursula super rare from Fabled coming through and putting in work. So seeing a lot of the tech cards have a big performance, but I think it's just a really good sign of a strong player. You don't need to win by a landslide. You just need to get that 20th lore. And Lucas just managed their resources so smoothly there. it was really good to see.
Buddy, I don't need to be miles ahead. I will happily crawl over the finish line as long as it gets me to game. But yeah, hats off to both these players. They've had a long weekend of Lorcana, 8 rounds of Swish yesterday, another 4 this morning. This is the semi-final. So both these players clearly have played some wonderful games of Lorcana. You just saw Lucas there just doing some pile counting of his deck. You certainly don't want to go into game 2 and realize that you've lost a card from somewhere.
Sounds like the kind of thing I would do, Baker, if I'm honest. My only DLC that I've ever played at was in Seattle.
Right, yeah.
And just as I was submitting my deck list, I counted my deck and there was 59 cards. I had to add something different, and at the end of the day, I found a magic broom at the bottom of my bag.
Of all things that you could be missing from a deck, it's the magic broom. You don't want to lose your magic broom.
No, it's important to count the deck, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. You don't want to lose like a B-Prep in old format or a Maui Shark, something like that. That would be absolutely terrible. But yeah, hats off to our Blurble player. Again, first seed, absolutely for a reason. And very excited to see how the Amethyst Steel deck is going to... The play-draw disparity we know is very strong. I think as the Amethyst Steel player, we want to go right wide very quickly, maybe triple 1-drop, because we know that Blurple can be... I don't want to say slow because I don't think that's accurate, but turn 2 is always a tad slower. Maybe he misses the 1-drop and we don't see that Rafiki or something. So maybe that's the space that the Amethyst Steel player needs to jump ahead.
Yeah, and we know that this is a tough matchup for Amethyst Steel, but on the play, it's arguably slightly favoured for Amethyst Steel.
I would agree.
It's going to be a close one. The thing is you're not just playing against Sapphire Amethyst. You are playing against the best Sapphire Amethyst player this weekend so far, that first seed.
Pretty good.
So you're up against a really, really strong player playing a really, really strong deck.
I have a question for you,
Sure.
Joe. We saw the Ursula Voice Stealer put in some work there. This is a card that I've seen debated quite a lot. I've spoke to some players that feel very differently about it. What are your opinions on it? Obviously, it served its purpose there. Do you think it's worth the inclusion? I know that you like to really, with your deck building, you want to make things as consistent as possible. So I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Well, interestingly, I had a conversation with a young man who was playing this weekend with Sapphire Amethyst, and the 2 cards I said to him I would really like to see 1 copy of is this Ursula Voice Stealer and the 1-jump. 1-jump ahead, the maths difference on going from 8 ramp turn 2s, the 4 Tipo, the 4 cell, to the 9th, it's actually a pretty significant percentage increase. It's around like 4%, that kind of ballpark.
And that adds up over the course of 12 rounds of Swiss.
It does. And the Ursula Voice Stealer, it's almost like a 5th Elsa. It's not the best. It's not as good as Elsa.
Nowhere near.
But against Tiana, for example, the main line you're looking to do as a Blurple player is you're looking to play Elsa, exert Tiana, and then sing Into the Unknown with Genie. If you don't have Elsa, but suddenly you have that Ursula Voice Stealer, it is just giving your deck that little bit of extra consistency. Probably you're not going to play 2 copies of it.
No, probably
maybe not. 2 at a push. But certainly I think that 1 extra card, particularly as it's an Inkable, is a really, really cool addition to see.
Yeah, it's super cool. I was always a big fan, again, as you say, I think 5th Elsa, because I have played Amethyst mirror matches where I was on the play, and if I missed Elsa, I just lost because they got to play their Elsa first, and suddenly it was like I was on the draw. Here we see our players gearing up for game 2. I believe we're in our... Oh, no, we're actually a couple of turns in, so let's give you a quick catch-up. We saw the Royal Guard the Palace Guard coming down turn 1, followed by the Rafiki Mystical Fighter. So Lucas did find that 1-drop, which is very important to slow Nick down a bit, and then Calhoun coming down on turn 2 from Nick.
Yeah, Calhoun on turn 2 is obviously a very good play in general, but whenever I've played Amethyst Steel and I'm trying to be a little bit more speedy, I would rather have that double 1-drop on turn 2 that you mentioned, Baker. But Calhoun is really nice here, as it is probably not going to quest, it's just going to chill, and as soon as Lucas starts exerting their characters, Calhoun is ready and waiting to pounce. But again, this Calhoun could get hit by an Elsa or even an Ursula, and then Rafiki could just trade it out immediately.
But at least maybe that's diverting attention away from a different thing, right? Maybe a Dumbo or something like that. I do love this Genie Satisfied Dragon coming down on turn 3 again. So important in this matchup. Lucas does find that turn 2 ramp. We're going to sail into the Azure at Sea.
Yeah, sail comes through. Lucas able to ink 1 more card. Of course, thanks to the sail, the Azurite Sea. Germany versus France in this one. 2 of the biggest Disney Lorcana communities in Europe being represented. Now, it's actually interesting, Baker, that we see a double ink here. So this must be the 3rd turn, in fact, for Lucas. So ramp was missed on turn 2, because obviously we joined this one in a little bit late. So ramp was missed on turn 2. This is a turn 3 ramp play, which doesn't...
to the World Championships, but we are off and away.
Yeah, let's see if we can catch up. Remember, it's Lucas who missed that turn 2 ramp. We saw Lucas play Sail on their 3rd turn to ink twice. That's why they're at 4 ink. Nick's then just taken his 4th turn and played the Dumbo down on the board. So we saw Lucas play Rafiki on 1. We saw no Sail on turn 2 from Lucas, but the turn 3 Sail into double inking. And this is now Lucas's 4th turn. Nick's curve was pretty clear. It was Palace Guard, Calhoun, Genie, Dumbo. And then for Lucas, it was Rafiki, Pass, Sail on 3, and it is now their 4th turn.
Yeah, I thought that we saw the turn 2 ramp, but instead going for it a turn later. And I wonder, while we've been waiting to come back on, what's been going through the minds of these two players, thinking out as many of the lines as they possibly can, the possibilities. We are going to play that Elsa 5th Spirit. This is what you foresaw happening, Spessy. Yeah. The Calhoun being exerted and the... Okay, this makes a lot more sense. I like that. Getting rid of this Genie, Satisfied Dragon, the evasive keyword, can answer the Elsa in response. So get that out of there. The Dumbo could still finish off the Elsa, though. So Nick not in a terrible position here. It is game 2. Lucas won game 1 on the play. Can Nick take us to a game 3?
Yeah, the Calhoun, not much of a threat as it's not evasive. We're going to see the Elsa for Nick. That is the problem, though, with challenging with Elsa and 3 damage being on her. It does open her up to the Elsa response. It's going to be the triple quest now for Nick, going up, I believe, to 6 lore. Might just be at 3. We'll get that confirmed for you very soon. Lucas, though, at 0. Now, Baker, I did use the little break as an opportunity to check in on the other semi-final, which is Emerald Steel versus Amethyst Steel. And Emerald Steel struck first in that one, taking a 1-0 lead. So Emerald Steel is 1 game away, Baker, at booking its place into the grand final. And
down comes TikTok. Oh, I'm very excited to see some Emerald Steel. That is definitely not what I expected. Yeah, the TikTok coming down for Lucas, just this 4/7 evasive character, 6 cost, again a little more expensive than the Iago Giant Spectral Parrot, but with 1 more willpower and the absence of that vanish keyword. And of course this TikTok is going to be able to easily answer the opposing Dumbo. Perhaps we can combine it with something else, a hypnotic strength or something, to get rid of the the Elsa's already got 2 damage on it, so we eat it. This crocodile, the ever-present pursuer, is looking for a snack.
Yeah, and I was saying previously, just before the little outage we had there, that turn 2 ramp being missed, it's really easy to think that that is a really disastrous moment for Lucas. But honestly, the important thing is that then the card they drew off the top the next turn was that Sail, the Azurite Sea. And even though you're ramping on 3 instead of 2, it's still a lot better than not ramping at all. And I think Lucas is still in a pretty good position here, but Nick starting to go wide. This is the main line we're going to see from Amethyst Steel. One thing that this Amethyst Sapphire deck can't do very well is answer multiple cards at once. There's no be prepared in this control deck, Baker, as I'm sure you're aware.
I'm kind of aware. It makes me sad, but yeah, that was always the issue with Blurport pre-rotation. It was a very fun rogue deck, and it could certainly do some things, but unable to answer a wide board. So Lucas is definitely fighting from uphill here. We see Nick Pham playing the Jafar Royal Vizier, who's a 2-cost inkable 3/2 quest for 1 and gains evasive during our turn. So just another target for the Dumbo, but he's not going to get a chance to make history with TikTok coming in and gobbling up the elephant. And there's the Bell.
Yeah, Bell and TikTok combined. Bell, one of the most powerful cards in Disney Lorcana right now. I love the Enchanted Bell as well. I got to say, it's my chase card of the set. I did get a Dumbo, so I can't complain, but I would happily trade it for a Bell.
So if you see Spessy and you want an Enchanted Dumbo, he is offering his Bell. I want the Hades, man. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, and the Scar, but the Hades is the most playable one. To be fair, Scar put in a lot of work today. I would love to talk about it, but that's not what we're seeing here. We're going to see paying 5 ink for another Elsa who's going to exert that Bell accomplished Mystic. We're going to put 2 damage on it, courtesy of the Elsa. And then taking 4, and then I expect the Calhoun, to finish the job and gain 2 lore. And so far, this is looking super good for Nick. Lucas has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ink. I'm not sure. We have a couple of cards in hand, so potentially a Hades is the counterplay for Lucas here to try and slow things down. But Nick going to 15 lore, Spessy.
Nick is 5 away, and there's 4 characters on the board, so they are a giant Cobra away from victory. And Lucas, if they want to deny the Cobra being a win condition for Nick, needs to remove 3 of these characters.
That's an awful lot to ask for Blurple. Again, Hades can do 1 of them, but Nick very much in the driver's seat here. We see the Genie Wish Fulfill going to draw us a card with the What Comes Next ability. Iago into the Inkwell, and a 1 jump ahead. We're going to help us ramp a bit more.
Yeah, 2 characters need to be removed by Lucas. My mistake on that one. Let's see if they can do it. Well, Elsa's going down. There's now 3 lore on the board for Nick, so a Cobra would still win Nick the game. Can Lucas remove it? A giant Cobra right now for Nick would seal the deal,
or double
but do
white
they
rose.
have it?
Was that it? Did he just draw it? I may be gaslighting the chat, but that kind of looked like the art of giant Cobra. Also, maybe 2 white roses.
Yep. That would be quite a spectacular way to do it. Strength of a Raging Fire, 3 ink.
It is! And the giant Cobra gains the 2 lore, which is all that Nick needed. He's going to quest out and go all the way to 20. And we're going to get a game 3, Spessy. That's what we love to see.
Yeah, absolutely fantastically done. And that's how you see Amethyst Steel doing the business against the Sapphire Amethyst player, developing that wide board, developing lots of questers. They might only quest for 1, but if I've got 6 characters, Baker, and you've only got 1, I am going to be questing for 5 or 6 lore every single turn. Let's take a look at the deck list from Lucas.
Here we go. What a treat. Lucas on Blurple. We see those 3 Basil Practice Detective, which have come a bit of a staple in the Blurple matchup. Great for combining with the Elsa 5th Spirit to remove Genies and Dumbos. We do see a couple of Madam Mim Elephants in the list as well. Fantastic tool in the aggro matchup, and even into Amethyst Steel, really. You can certainly get some use out of this. And, of course, being able to bounce our characters back to hand, like the ever-impressive Infernal Schemer Hades, maybe an Elsa. We know how good Elsa can be. And there's 2 copies of that Ursula Voice Stealer, Joe. Does that surprise you?
Not massively. I mean, 1 is what we tend to see, if any, probably 0, most common, but 2 is just showing how much Lucas values this card. And as I expected, 1 copy of 1 Jump Ahead, as well as a copy of Magical Maneuvers, is fascinating. But I think we're also going to be able to take a quick look at the deck list for Nick Pham with the Fire the Cannons, 2 copies of Bell, 2 copies of Fire the Cannons as well, 2 copies of that Madam Mim Tiny Adversary. There's 4 copies of a lot of the cards we expect, Baker. Only 3 Calhouns catches the eye there as well.
Certainly does. Probably just trying to lower that uninkable count a tad. Well, I'm very interested in 3 copies of Royal Vizier. Again, the evasive keyword is very important in our meta. Synergizes very well with the Dumbo. Even more Jafar's the aspiring rulers that can give Challenger 2. But this Madam Mim Tiny Adversary, Spessy, I've spoken to a lot of players about this card. There's been some debate in the community about just how good it is. Most of the players I spoke to today said that it was pivotal in the Amber Steel matchup. It really fixes your math into things like daisies and the such like. So I bet these tiny adversaries, the Skater Mim, as the community are calling it, or at least I'm calling it, has put in some work today. But I ask you, Joe, Nick Pham was the 1st seed. He finds himself in the semi-finals of the Bologna DLC. Maybe he's right, and 2 copies of the Ursula Voice Stealer is correct and optimal. Again, just to make sure you're hitting this turn 5 exert an opposing character. Thoughts on that, Joe?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. I think that clearly this deck is working really well from the man from France. It is a very interesting deck list because we're seeing lots of cards with 1 or 2 copies, 2 Ursulas, one jump ahead, one dig a little deeper, one magical maneuvers. And this is the kind of deck building that is very different to the deck building we see, for example, from Ed Chu, the North American champion. When we see Ed decks, we tend to see 4 copies of every single card. He says he values that consistency.
Sure.
Well, Lucas clearly having a different philosophy and really valuing the tech cards, especially those inkable tech cards like the Ursula Voice Stealer. When it's good, it's good. And when it's not so good, it's ink.
It's a strategy that we've seen players like Frank Karsten employ through his deck building. He loves a few cheeky one-offs, and that's a player that's found a lot of success in the Disney Lorcana TCG. So varying points of view about Lorcana can still be absolutely valid. But here we go, Illumineers. This is game 3, top 4 of the Disney Lorcana Challenge here in Bologna, Italy. Lucas will be on the play. What are we looking for if we're Lucas?
Well, Lucas is used to being on the play, securing that first seed. They will be going on the play every single game 1 in this top cut. So Lucas is just going to look to do what they've been doing. Find that consistent curve, find the ramp, and then just maximize the resourcing and get every little bit of ink of value out of those cards.
I loved that turn. Inking Rafiki and playing no one-drops, valuing the extra cards in hand, knowing quite well that we're probably putting a Tipo down on the next turn. We're going to see the Captain Hook as the follow-up. I'm a big fan of that turn. We don't necessarily need this Rafiki straight away, but it may be an uninkability problem as well, Spessy.
Yeah, it absolutely could be. It's always the sign of a good player, I think, inking a one-drop and then passing.
Yep. Dumbo into the inkwell. Not going to be making history anytime soon. And we do see the growing sun, the role that I am desperate to see Spessy starring in one day. He's going to ramp us. Of course, this is from hand. It can be an uninkable.
The other thing I love about the one jump ahead in Lucas's deck is it's not dead if you play Tipo. We saw them in game 1 singing the one jump ahead with Tipo. And how far I'll go, we know it was one of the best Sapphire cards in our core constructed before rotation. It doesn't exist anymore. So getting that extra bit of ramp in is quite difficult. And Tipo being a perfect singer for that one jump ahead, it gives you, of course, that extra consistency, but that extra ramp, as we see the Genie, is also an interesting option with the one jump ahead and Tipo to look out for.
It certainly is. Nick able to get a cheeky quest out with the Forceful Duelist Captain Hook. Tipo not quite up to the job. It maybe was a little risky because we could have seen a Hypnotic Strength, but then the Calhoun would have had a fantastic clapback. Lucas playing a Genie, drawing a card and passing, and once again, every turn 3 from Nick, we have seen this Satisfied Dragon.
5 ink is what Lucas can be at this turn. And Baker, there is a Amethyst 5 cost card, which I think is the best card in the game right now. Ursula Voice Stealer into the ink. There she is, the Elsa 5th Spirit. So much pressure being exerted by this Elsa.
That is going to ruin Nick's day. Like I said, this Genie being a 3/4 quest for 1, gaining evasive during your turn. It's so important for the Genies, for the Elsas, for the Dumbos. We know there are Madam Mim tiny adversaries in the deck that can boost it up to be able to one-shot a Genie. We're going to see a Genie over on Nick's side, but yeah, that's exactly what Lucas wanted to see. And again, emphasizing the importance of turn 5. It exerts an opposing character. But Joe, worth noting, Ursula there would not have been enough to get the job done. You would have had to have gone in with the Tipo and the Genie, and it still wouldn't have been enough. So clearly Elsa the better card, but Voice Stealer putting in some work.
Yeah, Voice Stealer, of course, has some interesting synergies, and you would imagine as we get more sets, Baker, there might be more songs which people want to put into these Amethyst decks, and we might see Ursula Voice Stealer become even more popular. I got to say, the more I see the deck list from Lucas, the more I love it. So much consistency on that turn 2 and that 5 ink play. Iago into the ink. That's another benefit of this illusion. While it's a risky character to play in the early game, you can just ink it. And when your opponent's starved of resources, like we saw Lucas do in game 1, that's when Iagos have a splash.
And here's the Bell Accomplished Mystic. As you said, one of the best cards in the game at the moment. Going to move 3 damage counters from the Elsa onto the Calhoun. Obviously, moving damage counters ignores resist, but even if it didn't, that would have been enough to get rid of the Marine Sergeant. Elsa going on a cheeky little quest, and I think that's Lucas's first lore of the game.
Absolutely, it certainly is. So Nick is in the lead, 2 lore to 1, but for how long that remains to be seen. Genie with 3 damage counters still on it. Imagine, Baker, if Lucas has another bell up their sleeve.
This bell really, like you said earlier, and I couldn't agree with you more, mate. In pre-rotation, it felt super reasonable. It was always a good card. Post-rotation, moving 3 damage seems dummy Braxton broken, but Lucas certainly enjoying it. We're seeing this Fire the Cannons is going to finish off the Genie.
Yeah, nice use of Fire the Cannons. We saw Nick do something similar in game number 1, and Nick's doing a good job of clawing their way back into this one, just trying to get a little foothold in the game. The Elsa and the Bell were so strong from Lucas, but credit to Nick where it's due. They are staying in this one for now.
He's come this far. He's not going to give up easily. We're going to pay 4 for the Dumbo, the 9th wonder of the universe. And we're going to immediately utilize the breaking records ability, making Elsa exert. We're going to pay 1 ink, gain 1 lore, draw 1 card. And this is, again, the reason why you want to have answers to these evasive characters. We already know that genies are very, very aggressive. You need to have answers to them. And this Dumbo can absolutely run away with the game drawing cards if you don't interfere with it.
Yeah, this is a good example for Nick where the Madam Mim Skater, the tiny adversary, would be a really powerful card. Suddenly that Captain Hook, out of nowhere, would have 4 strength to challenge and trade with this spell. So while the Madam Mim is a 2-cost character, it's at stages like this in the game that it can be most impactful to catch your opponent off guard.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tiny Adversary. I think it's such a fantastic math fixer. And again, it's inkable, as you were saying earlier about Iago, Joe. You don't need it. You put it into the inkwell. Nick slowing down. The pace of play has been pretty good so far from these players. Nick identifying that this is a pivotal turn, clearly looking at the cards in his hand, and he has multiple lines to choose from. We are at 2 lore to 5. Lucas's board is slightly wider, but Nick, with a couple of genies and a Captain Hook, it is by no means over.
And remember, the other semi-final, Baker, it's Amethyst Steel versus Emerald Steel. Lucas is the last Sapphire player remaining in Disney Lorcana Challenge Bologna. But of course, as that first seed, you have to say they are the favorite. Nick here is on the draw, looking to break serve. And if they can do it, they will find themselves in the final.
And what a moment that's going to be. I'm super excited to see who's going to be the first to qualify for the World Championship. Is that 5 ink exerted? Maybe more. It is 5. Elsa the 5th Spirit going to exert that Dumbo, and he is probably not long for the storybook. Do we have any? No, I don't think we've inked for turns, so maybe ink and a cannons, but I imagine it's going to be Elsa and Genie into the Dumbo. A 2 for 1. He's still a bit behind, though. This Bell questing for 2 is so much pressure. This Bell is so good, man.
Yeah, 4/4 stat line, quest for 2, heals one of your characters, puts in damage to an opposing character. What more could you want? And you can even shift it if you really so desire, just to add to the utility of this character. There are some situations where you actually shift your Bell onto your own Bell. We see
Have you seen that this weekend?
I have. I actually saw a moment where someone forgot that they could do it, and their opponent explained, well, there was a line. It was actually at the CCQ last weekend in the semi-final. After the game happened, their opponent said, there was a line you had. You could have gone Bell, shift Bell, and you could have stayed in the game. So it is something that can come up.
I'm going to keep an eye out for that one in the future. We're going to see the Tipo removed, the Genie going to go on a little quest for a couple of lore, and suddenly Nick's board looks a little bit better than Lucas's. 4 lore to 5. I think that's just 2-3 cards in Lucas's hand, so it is still all to play for here at DLC Bologna.
Wow. There it is.
That's a second
Sing
starter, right?
Together 10, and suddenly Lucas draws 5 cards. And look at Nick's face. Like, okay. Yep, that just happened. And if you're Nick now, Baker, and you see Lucas with that many cards in hand and all that ink still available, you know that you probably are going to lose the long game here, and you need to start questing and developing as wide a board as possible.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do to compete with a second star to the right. Even if we had one of our own, it tends to be whoever plays it first and can benefit from it is in a very strong position. So, yeah, Nick probably going to identify that he just needs to put on the gas right now. We're going to draw a card. Is it a good one? Was that another strength for a Raging Fire?
Didn't catch that, Baker, but this second star to the right is a one-of copy in Lucas's deck. So he found the card when he needed it. In comes Dumbo. Now, Dumbo at this stage in the game, Baker, while it's a 4-drop, most effective when played at a moment like this with evasive characters ready to go.
This TikTok as well, just such a big body. It's going to be able to eat so much of Nick's board. Oh,
sounds like the other semi-final might have just finished. I've heard some big celebrations. So it seems as though when this one's finishing, we should be able to hop in with the final pretty quickly indeed. There's been a lot of reactions in the building today. There was an iconic pulled earlier on, and there was a big scream. I also heard a big celebration in the top 8, which was the sound of someone winning a golden Mickey Mouse.
Amazing. Again, like, this is life-changing for some people, right? And I keep saying this, Joe. I think we've got a lot of really hungry players. They saw the first season of Lorcana. Maybe they played in some events, but didn't make it to the top cut of nationals, didn't make it to the World Championships, and they've seen that play out and said, that is going to be me next season.
Baker, Nick is in a very decent position. If you're Nick, would you take this position if you offered it to him at the start of the best of 3, being 10 lore ahead or 5 lore ahead at this stage? Perhaps Nick's Dumbo's exerted. TikTok is going to challenge the Dumbo. Of course, Lucas absolutely still very much in this game, but Nick is really putting up a fight here.
Yeah, we're going to move put the TikTok into the Dumbo, gobble, and then double Elsa to take out a Genie, take away some of the pressure. And here's an Into the Unknown, removing the other Genie. I don't think that was the Genie's wish.
Just like that. Who needs Be Prepared, Baker? Certainly Lucas doesn't. What a turn that was. Utilizing the song cards, Elsa exerting characters. Amethyst, we know it's a ink color which loves to draw cards, but right now it's also looking like it's really good at controlling the board as well.
What world are we living in where Sapphire has the most dominant removal cards in the game? Amethyst has always been good. Ruby definitely losing a lot of his identity. We're going to see the Bell, a fantastic cop, going to move free damage from the TikTok and remove that Bell. And this TikTok is a huge body, but only quests for 1. So we have definitely put Lucas on a much longer clock turn to get to game.
Yeah, it's 10 lore to 5. Nick with, I believe, 2 or 3 cards in hand. Lucas, of course, having played that second star to the right, also has an abundance of options. Nick going to be passing on over to Lucas, who draws a card to start their turn. Nick did quest for 1, so they're 9 lore away. Of course, with that Cobra in the deck, Baker, if you start getting up to 16 lore, if you're Nick, a couple of Cobras could quickly seal the deal.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to respect the ability for these Amethyst Steel decks to just make lore gains in the form of, as you say, a Giant Cobra, White Roses, things like that. You want to get into that danger zone where all it's going to take is a couple of Cobras, a couple of White Roses to seal the deal. We're going to see the Manamim Elephant coming down, bouncing that Elsa to the hand, establishing a very bulky girl, but perhaps more importantly, Joe, resetting that Elsa. And she's back. The 5th Spirit going to exert down that Bell. TikTok is going to eat her up, and suddenly Lucas back in what seems like a dominating position. Can Nick prove me wrong? He's got a wide grip.
Yeah, the Manamim Elephant just returning a character back to your hand is so good with this much ink. The White Rose, though, ticking along. Surely not, Nick. What was this turn? Nick with 2 lore out of nowhere and 2 characters ready to quest. Nick is creeping towards that 20 lore.
Double White Rose, 2 cards still in hand for Nick. Lucas's board is nice and wide, but everything only questing for 1 until, of course, we throw down this Genie. He's going to draw another card. We still have, I think, 5 ink to play with, perhaps 4, but we can ink for turn. And there's the Finders Keepers, Aladdin, and we're going to draw 3 cards. This is a slow card, Joe, but with this board, I think you can afford to take this turn off.
Yeah, and Lucas just going to be looking for answers for the next turn. With playing this Finders Keepers this turn, it means if he finds something like Hades, for example, Lucas is going to be able to play it next turn. Basil joins the party, and Lucas's characters are going to go questing. That's a quest for 4, up to 9 lore. There is 4 lore between these players, but if the White Roses quest, Nick is up to 15, and those Cobras, if Nick can find them, are going to be getting him increasingly closer to 20.
Yeah, there's a Diablo, a Calhoun, and a Genie in hand, and we're going to see all of them throw down. These White Roses are going to quest up to 15. So we are actually threatening Story on board, Joe. Are you proud of me?
Yeah, good job, mate. Very nicely done. Lucas draws for turn.
This Basil, like, first time we've seen it this match, and it seems like it's been quite an important part of the other Blurpool decks we've seen over the weekend. Just synergizes so well with the Elsa and the Genie, but we're seeing it for the first time this match here.
And you asked me, Baker, about what do I think about the rotation of Fabled, and these are the kinds of board states we're just not used to seeing so much previously. Without a board clear, these kinds of board states become even more common, and honestly the decision making is so much more intricate and difficult. So many different options. We see the double sail from Lucas. What is Lucas looking for right now? Nick does have story on board and of course no cards in hand, so the Cobra not an immediate threat, although Doc into Cobra would be a way of Nick gaining 2 lore next turn without needing to quest. So Lucas, knowing that, might just want to be trying to keep Nick from only getting 2 lore from questing next turn, just denying as much lore as possible, because there is a window of opportunity here for Nick to win. If Nick draws the Doc into Cobra exactly, they have a real chance of winning here, Baker.
I think you've got a good point. Another burst of applause from outside. Maybe the last one was the ending of one game. It seems like another one is done, or perhaps the whole match, but you're absolutely right. Not a board state we're used to seeing. Day 36 without B-Prep. I am crashing out. Here's the Ursula Voice Stealer.
Exerting the genie, and listen, Elsa's good, but so's this Ursula, and Into the Unknown is played for free with that Ursula. In comes Rafiki to join the fun, and now Lucas puts his hand down and starts thinking about what they will be doing. I would imagine both of these White Roses will be challenged. That would mean that it's Calhoun and Diablo. But Baker, if Calhoun is left on the board and has something to challenge, that would mean that Nick is still able to win with a Doc and with a Cobra off the top. So Lucas here needs to make sure that they don't give anything to the Calhoun to challenge and banish.
Yeah, there are certainly lines to victory for Nick, despite the very oppressive board that Luke has been able to build. We're going to double into the Basil with, into the White Rose with the Basil, and the Elsa could have quested and just boost up the strength there.
Yeah, but again, Lucas
don't want to leave the target.
Sees the Calhoun, and it's so heads up, just gets rid of the Basil. Poor old Basil, he wanted to be supporting, but Lucas had other ideas, and suddenly, even that Doc into Giant Cobra would not be enough for Nick. What do they find? Lucas with story on board. There is how many characters?
We've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lore on board, courtesy of 7 characters.
Yep. Calhoun not able to remove anything from the board here. Let's not forget that Madam Mim Elephant at the start of Lucas's turn is able to move 2 damage counters from themselves onto one of Nick's cards.
Joe, it's great to be back in the booth with you, man.
It's good fun.
There's a lot of fun, man. I'm having a great time. This has been a banger of a match, a heck of a semi-final, and I feel like we're on the precipice of its ending.
Yeah, we could also see Nick taking an unorthodox line here. If they're not happy with the card that they have in hand, if they just don't have enough to win from this position, we might see the Diablo challenging the Madam Mim. This is going to give Nick one more opportunity to find what they need to stay in this game. White Rose!
Oh, that's one lore. That's going to take us to 16. We know this Calhoun could quest to 17. How many cards in hand left for Nick? We're looking at playing another one for Diablo. Is that the lot?
And it's going to be a quest, and that means that Lucas is free to go. Story is on board. Lucas will ready, set, draw, and quest to 20.
Starry Store attained. Fantastic game. And Lucas takes it 2-1 and will be proceeding to the finals of the Disney Lorcana Challenge here in Bologna, Italy. And you hear the crowd. Hopefully you can hear them. It's fantastic to be back in a full venue, man.
Yeah, absolutely. What a final that was. Blurple take